recorded. Okay, my name is George Plosker. I'm a Client Services Manager with IEEE. And thanks again for coming to join us to hear about the SMPTE content in ITripleE Explorer. We'll do a PowerPoint introduction, and then we're going to have a short briefing, a little tutorial on how to do the authentication setup to make sure that your SMPTE account is properly linked to your ITripleE Explorer account. My colleague will join me for that, and then we're going to have mostly a live demo that will illustrate the different content sets from SMPTE within ITripleE Explorer, and we will show how to isolate that content and set up alerts on that content and so on. I started a partnership with SMPTE. It's probably a little bit over a year old. We launched it at the SMPTE conference in Hollywood in October of 2015. And at this point, IEEE is the exclusive host for the complete SMPTE digital library, and we also manage all institutional subscriptions and accounts. Now, as many of you know, SMPTE's technical focus is primarily in the motion image, whether it be motion pictures, television, online video, and what they like to call screen to screen or glass to glass. So in other words, from the lens all the way through to the final display. So they're fully involved and have been for a long, long time. You can see at the bottom of the screen that this is actually the 100th anniversary of SMPTE. And we did have a little celebration about that at the Hollywood conference a few weeks ago. SMPTE is actually an award-winning organization, and they've literally won the top entertainment industry awards, the Oscars, the Emmys. They've been recognized for a long, long time as really the preeminent technology leader in the advancement of art, science, craft of the image, sound, metadata ecosystem worldwide. And they are internationally recognized and accredited. Their advances really move the entire motion picture industry forward. And of course, with the increased awareness of video on online sources, this is something that has had greater and greater impact. And the IEEE is very, very pleased about having this partnership with SMPTE and being able to offer this content on the very advanced Explorer platform. SMPTE Digital Library, it really focuses on innovative content. Of course, there is, as we will see, a deep back file, so should anyone need to look at some of the foundation technologies, they're able to do that too. And the total library, and we'll detail this, consists of about 23,000 documents in all. It's unlimited full-text access to all the SMPTE standards, journal articles, and conference papers. And there are more than 800 standards available through the SMPTE library, and we're going to take a careful look at that. Many of you, if you're as old as me, may remember the color bar standard that used to show up when you first turned your color television on. And that was one of the SMPTE and is one of the SMPTE standards, kind of shown here in the bottom left corner. There is a peer-reviewed journal online. We're going to give some detail about that. And also the SMPTE conference proceedings are online. Now, I'd imagine here's the glass-to-glass thing again, from camera to television or monitor, with focus on creating and maintaining the quality of the digital image and the experience, which has become a much bigger area. Some of the sample searches will illustrate that for creation to display, including standardizing and enhancing methods and technology for this wide range of broad subject areas. But as we will see when we go into the sample searches, you, of course, can search in much more precise terminology to obtain just the articles that would be relevant to your particular project or any problem that you might be solving. Now, these standards, this is a very important part of the content, and SMPTE is an internationally recognized standards development body. And since its founding in 1916, SMPTE has developed more than 800 standards, recommended practices, engineering guidelines. All these are full text in Explorer. They are, of course, focused on film, digital cinema, television, internet video, and they add an average of approximately 50 standards each year, but this year has been an aggressive year. They've already added 62 new standards. And we all know that their technologies are moving along quickly, so this keeps their standards teams very busy. And, of course, they work with a wide variety of practicing engineers in the field to develop these standards. They abide by the ANSI and ISO due process for initiating, approving, revising, removing standards, and it facilitates not just at the old days standards were thought of as safety, but it's much more about interoperability and therefore the ability to do partnerships and do business and for the content that's produced using SMPTE standards to be displayable worldwide. I did a count yesterday, and it looked like we were over 925 full-text standards. We'll show you that in the online demo. And here you can see a little bit more from the SMPTE website by providing structure, organization, and interoperability. This typically is something where you're looking to advance your business. SMPTE Motion Imaging Journal, in its existing title, which you can see here, it has been online from 2002 to date. However, the entire back file is available. And within Explorer, we are able to show you the different previous titles, what is referred to as the title history, and you can see that here. So it literally goes all the way back to 1916. The original journal was called The Transactions of the Society of Motion Picture Engineers. And this is indeed all full text and more than 22,000 articles to date. Now, the SMPTE conference has also gone through some technical change in terms of the title and the coverage. And you can see here that going back to the earlier days, it was simply called the SMPTE Television Conference, and it kind of changed names, and today it is simply called the SMPTE Technical Conference, and this is now offering more than 1,500 full-text papers. Now, one of the things that we like to talk about when you use a database that integrates content from a variety of publishers is the power of aggregation. And indeed, when you do subject searching, and we'll demonstrate this, you can see the IEEE content, and you can see it side by side with the SMPTE content. You have a lot of control over what you might want to look at or not, both in terms of refining the result set or in reviewing individual records. And you can see that in the current journals, the conference area, the legacy journals, the IEEE offers a great deal of complementary content around the exact same topics that you will be researching. So this, of course, is giving you this broader digital library of 175 peer-reviewed titles where you can take advantage of aggregation and therefore the broader perspective of interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary content. And perhaps that little tidbit will help you with your problem. Now, I'm going to talk about personalization features in IEEE Xplore because many of the SMPTE users have expressed interest in tracking the content. In other words, automatic updates of search topics and automatic updates of standards. And we're going to talk about this. So we do have what's called personalization feature in IEEE Xplore, and it gives you the ability to set up these automatic updates and other things like search preferences and search history features. So we strongly recommend the setup of the personalization. It is free. You have to have your institutional authentication in order to get the content because the personalization login will only get you this list of features. So what you do when you log in, at the top of the screen, you're going to see access provided by your organization, access provided by Walt Disney, access provided by Dolby, whatever the case might be. In the top right corner, you can click on Personal Login. It leads you to this screen to create the IEEE account. And there, you simply fill in the screens. It has the password strength meter, and you create the personalization account. And once again, it would give you all of these features. So you can set up the alerts and so on. For example, I have an alert running on SMPTE standard. I believe it's 428. And this is an email that I got in August telling me that a new version of 428 was now online. And you can see here by clicking on this active link that it would take you to IEEE Xplore, and assuming that you have the authentication, the full text of the standard will open. So we really like the alerts, and we think in a rapidly moving industry like entertainment, like broadcast media, you really need to keep up to date. It's a critical feature of our database, and indeed one of our main objectives, helping you all keep up to date. SMPTE benefits overall, it's the key research in these subject areas. They are the premier provider in the creation and delivery of quality images. It opens business opportunities, and we certainly could see a lot of business conversation going on at their conference last month. State-of-the-art workflows on content creation and distribution, system interoperability worldwide within the entire global marketplace, accelerates innovation by understanding the media technology landscape, and improves productivity because you can therefore not reinvent the wheel, see what other people have written about a particular situation or problem. I do encourage you to stay in touch. I am, of course, available for any questions about this session. And the client services team, we have a group alias, training@IEEE.org. Any Xplore user can send questions to that email address. We all know each other's travel, so we back each other up, and we are always happy to answer any questions about search strategy, problems, authentication, whatever the case might be. Now, at this point, I am going to hand the ball over to my colleague, Naveen Madali. Let me make sure he is. We're going to make him the presenter, and he will share his screen to talk a little bit about authentication.
Okay, George, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, 1 second. See my screen, the SMPTE webpage, homepage. Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about link down your SMPTE member account with your IEEE account. It's a pretty quick and simple one-time process that SMPTE members need to do to be able to access their SMPTE benefits within ITripleE Explorer. SMPTE members get access to the SMPTE journal. They get discounts for the conference papers and for the standards. So to be able to get benefits in Explorer, you just have to follow a pretty simple one-time process. So I'll just step you through that. So you need to go to the SMPTE account page, and there's a couple of different ways of getting there. You can go up here to My Account, but the place you can do that is through the SMPTE Digital Library page. So you go to Publications, and then to the SMPTE Digital Library. So this is the Digital Library homepage on the SMPTE site. So you can see some information about the Digital Library. If you click on any of these images, you can also go to the pages in Explore. So at the bottom, you'll see account linking with IEEE. You would just follow these instructions, and you can go through the process. And let me just show you this. I'm sorry, right here, the FAQs about the linking process. Today I'm going to show, you can always just go right here. There's a PDF. Everything I'm about to explain right now, it's available right in this PDF, so you can, if you forget how to do it or you weren't sure what I was doing, you can always just go right there. Okay, so you can go to My Account page, sign in with your SMPTE member ID, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. Okay, well, I'm signed in, so this is my account page, so all my SMPTE member information is here. And then on the right-hand side, you see, click here to link your SMPTE account with your IEEE and gain access to your membership benefits. So I can click on that. You're at the account linking instructions page. So, you know, to link the accounts, you need to click on this link. It's going to take you over to the Explore page. This is what George had showed earlier in his presentations. If you have an IEEE account, you sign in here. If you don't, you can create an account, and George showed you that. It was a pretty simple process that took less than a minute to do. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in with my my Explorer ID. Take a little bit of time, and actually it's complete. So sometimes it can take up to 30 seconds or so, depending on the data feed. In this case, it's happened. So it's simple. So my account is linked now. The confirmation message. So if I go to Explore, you do that. Okay, now I'm on Explore. Sign in with my IEEE ID, not SMPTE ID, but your IEEE ID. So like George showed before, you go to Personal Sign in with IEEE ID, the one that you just linked. Okay, and so I'm signing in here, SMPTE demo. And just to confirm, what can I access? So you have membership access to the SMPTE journals in this case. Any other subscriptions that you might have as a SMPTE member, plus discounts to individual documents, individual SMPTE documents like standards or conference papers. So it's really that simple one-time process. And so I pass it back to George.
Very much, Naveen. While we're doing the handoff back to me here, I want to stress that this stuff about authentication is the most critical thing that client services deals with. So in other words, if you're having any confusion about authentication, we want to clear that up. So if people, for example, were to send an email to this string alias and I can't get in, we're going to put that right to the front of the queue. All the things that we talk about in terms of advanced search strategy, the things I'm going to show you, all that is important and critical to your getting your work done efficiently. But if you get in, all of that is just not nearly as important. So we truly think that that basically, we feel that the access is the top priority. But don't hesitate to contact us at any time and just say the access is not working properly, and we will figure out how to do that. Now, we also have a services group, so you can always send an email to online support at IEEE.org, and they work with the same priority. In other words, access is a super critical thing. Are there any questions? Let me look at the chat box and see if there are any questions. Okay, any questions at this point? But please feel free, either verbally or through the chat box, to send me a question. All right, I'm going to jump into IEEE Xplore, and the first thing I'm going to do is log into the institutional sign-in. Excuse me. Now, this is what we, of course, would call a demonstration password. Every password is unique to each client, and generally your company name would appear right here. So we access provided by the organization that you work with, Texas Instruments, and once you see that, you know you are authenticated. So once again, as Naveen showed, you can click on what can I access, and because this is a demonstration password, we of course have access to the full IEEE Explorer digital library. But if I come down toward the bottom here, you see that I have the SMPTE digital library, so the SMPTE journals, the conference proceedings, and the standards. Now here is the create account, and I'm going to sign in with my personalization account, and we show you these personalization features as we grew this. And you'll notice here that I'm a Gmail login. However, if you create the account using one particular email address, notice Welcome George Plosker is now visible here. If I go to my settings and go to Preferences, among the things, excuse me, you can change the email address and the format for the delivery of the email alerts. We also recommend that you turn the search history on. So that's enough with the personalization and the authentication. Get into some demonstration searches about IEEE and SMPTE content within the digital library. Now, I'm going to start out with a relatively simple search, and we're going to use the search box on the home screen. I'm going to put in digital cinema, which is a hot topic in the SMPTE world right now. When we were in the exhibit booth in Hollywood, quite a few people came by and they asked us about, do you have anything on digital cinema? So if you do the search here, you see that we have 492 articles talking about that. And a couple of things that we like to point out, you can look here in the Refine Results by, and notice that it breaks out into the different document types. So you have 289 conference papers, 159 journal articles, 42 standards, and we also offer ebook content, so that would be 2 ebook chapters. If you come further, you refine that by publisher. See here, for example, that I can limit it to the SMPTE content simply by applying the refinements, and would isolate the SMPTE content. A couple of things that we like to show in terms of just basic use of Xplore and moving into a little bit more control. We do offer this menu, and I'm going to back out the SMPTE refinement for a moment. Sort menu. So the default sort is relevance, but for example, if you wanted to know what are the most important papers, you could sort by most cited, and then you would be able to see which of these 492 papers are considered to be the most seminal articles, the most important. And see here that this watermarking scheme for digital cinema has been cited by 36 papers as well as 30 patents. And we do for the patent sort as well. Now back to the sort menu in just a moment. You can see here that we can also sort by newest first. So we do that kind of thing. We give you that control over time frame by sorting by, say, newest first. And the way the bibliography, the list of articles, would be in date order. You can see here that you can open up the PDF by clicking on the link. You can open up the abstract by clicking on the title. And this would give you a summary of the article. It would discuss the authors. It would, if there are any figures available. Here you would be able to see any citations. And reference list is also available. In other words, the bibliography. So that is basically the simple use. I'm having a technical problem. Hold on a second. Can you hear me? All right. My bad. Excuse me. Let me go back to where I was. And we already have looked at the abstract. Now, we do like the abstract. It's a good way to see if the article is useful to you or not. Go back to the search results screen. All right, I wanted to move forward into a different approach to the searches. So we do the basic search. But particularly in the world of SMPTE, you all need to have a little bit more control over the search process. So here we're going to look at the advanced search. Now, in advanced search, you have the ability to do a couple of different things. First of all, the default search is metadata, and if I mouse over this question mark, you can see that the metadata includes the abstract and title text, the indexing terms, but not the full text. However, we do allow you to search full text in advanced search, and we're going to get back to that in a moment. For this particular search, and for most searches, we recommend that you keep it with the default, the metadata, in order to obtain what we call greater precision. Now, we have Boolean connectors here, and we also have the ability to search specific fields. Here, I want to use the OR connector, and I search for a concept that's really very important in the SMPTE world today. It's known by acronym OTT, but it stands for over the top. It has to do with Internet broadcast technology. Now, by using the OR connector, you don't care what the author called it. So I can say OTT or over the top, and because I want it to be a fairly exact phrase, I am going to use the quotation marks, which work very, very well within IEEE Xplore. So let's try on that. Now you can see that we're getting like 1,034 records. So this is a lot of records. Now this is an interesting place where perhaps you would say, let's set up a search alert. I go down here and I click on Set Search Alerts, and I'll call it OTT. Notice my delivery is my IEEE email address, and on Save, and I'll have created an alert where any time an article is published on Over the Top, I'm going to get alerted to that through my email. We think that's great. If this is the subject of your project, you want to be kept up to date. Now, under here, we already talked about the sort menu, but here's a circumstance where you might want to refine by using a secondary terminology, perhaps something like buffering. I come to the Refine Results By, I put buffering. It's now what we call drill down. We're now all the way down to 38 records. And you can see here the sort is the default of relevance. Can sort the records newest first. And you see the newer records. Now, if we come down just out of curiosity to the publisher facet, you can see here that IEEE is actually publishing a lot more content in this area than SMPTE. And this simply has to do with the fact that we have a lot more subject matter. We have 175 titles. We have 1,400 conferences. We have over 2,000 standards, and so on. So this is a good illustration of how we would cover through our conference content, which is particularly known for being really current and up to date, and journal content, same subject matter that would be relevant to SMPTE researchers. Now here you can do things like you could bump up the total number of records per page to 50, because you can do this to up to a maximum of 100. You could select 50 records, select all on page, and you could then download the records in a variety of formats. And this, by the way, is not incurring full text. This is just bringing in a bibliography. And this. So if you're jumping on an airplane and you want to review this content, you can look at the abstracts, the keywords, the bibliographic citation, and blue is a persistent link to the full text record. So this is also a good way to share the records with other colleagues. So we like the downloading. We think that that's a good feature too. All right, moving along here. I do move into author searching. So I'm going to go back to the home page, and you'll notice that we have a specialized author search right here. So click on author search. It's up a little background grid, so it tells you how to enter it. So looking for a guy named Al Kovalik. So I'm just going to put in his first initial. On search. Now, the IEEE has done a lot of work on author search, and you'll notice that we get back 32 records for this gentleman. And I'm down to author refine. You can see here that we picked up either A. Kovalik or Al Kovalik. So that did work very well in terms of getting all 32 records. And if we sort them by date, you can see Kovalik writes primarily for the SMPTE Motion Imaging Journal. And cubely, if you wanted to track him, you could set up a search alert on the author search. And this would enable you to find all articles, new articles that he would be writing. So we the author search, very, very useful and, of course, a critical part of research. I will go back to advanced search for a moment. Now, in search, I mentioned briefly that we have a up-down menu here. And here, there's a very, very useful field called the author affiliations. So let's say that you wanted to find articles that were written by engineers at Sony. If you put in the drop-down author affiliations and then simply put in the company name, you can actually find articles that are written by Sony engineers. So you see here that Sony engineers have written over 2,200 articles in Xplore, and you could still do things like refine the search. So let's say you're looking for material on compression, or you could track Sony by setting up a search alert. It comes down to 78. So this is, people really like this author affiliation search, and once again, that's in advanced search. It's in the drop-down author affiliations. Now, I mentioned earlier that we were going to look at the standards. We're going to do that in a moment, but I want to talk for just a moment about full text and other more advanced search techniques. Notice here that you have an ability to use something called command search. And in here, you can do things like this. Just a basic search box. And I'm just, because I'm a little bit lazy and don't want to do that much typing this early in the morning, I'm going to put in this search. Now, notice here that there are operators, the Boolean operators and or not, and then we're going to get back to this near and oh near in a moment, but note they are capitalized. They require capitalization. But in here, you can do things by using the Boolean nested strategy approach. So my first concept here is ultra-high definition, or UHDTV. And then you even do one more. You could do something like this. Is not required. I'm just doing it to make it easier to read. So in other words, it's going to capture ultra-high definition or UHD-TV or UHD, and then going to AND it with TV or television, which would be the second nest, as they call it. And so this would work very, very well metadata. And you'll see here that we have 278 articles. Now, once again, if we pop down to the publisher facet, SMPTE has published 66 articles on this subject, but we have published 211. So again, that power of aggregation, that you're able to see a more complete picture of the research. And here you can see the different document types, you can see standards, and so on. Now, one more thing that we can do in advanced search is take advantage of this near connector. So let me walk out this Boolean strategy. This concept in cellular communications is called small cell. Say you wanted to search the exact phrase small cell, and here the near connector is used with a number. The number which you specify is a maximum number of intervening words. So in other words, I'm looking for the exact phrase small cell within 4 words of beamforming. Now, near would be order specific, but the near doesn't care about the order. So beamforming could be in the first position or the second position. Now, just to tell you the power of this, I'm going to search it in the metadata first. Note that we only get 10. This is a very good illustration. If you're not getting enough records, and use the near connector in the full text and metadata. So they're essentially data mining this concept across all of the full text. In Xplore today is over 4 million records. See here that it went way up. We now have 60 records where it is finding small cell within 4 words of beamforming. So we like the near connector, and the key to all of this is the advanced search, where you can do the Boolean searching, affiliation searching, and the command structure searching. Move over to Browse now, and start talking a little bit more about the SMPTE Standards. And you can see here that the Browse menu lets you browse by document type. So I'm going to browse the standards. We've done some special configuration here. In other words, you can select the publisher, IEEE or SMPTE, and what most people tend to do is browse by number. So let's say that you're interested in looking at SMPTE Standard 428. You can either click on the range, can put in 428, and here and you see 428-1, 428-2. Let's say we're interested in 428-7. On the title, it shows the abstract. And in the previous view, in both previous view and in this view, okay, something I really lost control of my screen here. I'm going to stop this notation. Sorry about that. Federica, if you have questions, we can get back with each other later on. For example, I wanted to show here the versions and it was the complete history of the active and inactive, and all of it is online. So if you need to look at the older standard, you can still do it. Now, the thing I wanted to show, if we go up to My Settings menu, and you go to Content Alerts, and on Standards by version, you can go down to 428 in this list. Oops. Let me click SMPTE. And to set up an alert for any SMPTE standard, all you need to do is to click on, let's have 7, and I want to add 6. I click on 6. I've now set up an alert. The other thing you can do here, if you wanted to do content alerts by journal, if you wanted to get an electronic version of the SMPTE journal, you can come in here and look for journals and magazines rather than standards, and go down to there's your way to do this. Let me go to Browse, Journals. Printing. Here is the SMPTE Motion Imaging Journal. And to my alerts. And to the personalization, I have just added that journal. So every time when this journal is updated electronically, I will get the electronic table of contents delivered to my email address. At this point, I usually open things up to questions. We have some other sample searches. We have all different kinds of content on things like high dynamic range and pervasive video. But let me ask the group any questions or anything you're working on where you'd like to see how we might approach that search. Any questions? If no questions, let me put up the contact screen. Please feel free to contact me later with any questions or issues. And I want to once again thank all of you for your time and attention today. So please don't hesitate to be in touch if there's any follow-up, and we look forward to working with you. Bye-bye now.